Hey everybody, this is going to be step 2 of the AFAS version 10.1909 install instructions. This step is load the AFAS SDC 10.1909 Windows 10 workstation disk image. For this, you're going to need that disk image. It's on a Blu-ray. It was sent to you via FedEx or possibly USPS from your POC. You will need a Blu-ray drive, either external or built into the PC itself, in order to run this. Assuming you have those, we'll keep pressing. So we're going to load our Blu-ray into our disk drive. If our computer is already set from our last image process to boot from the disk, then all you have to do is reboot the computer and look for the error, or look for the start message to begin booting from the disk. I'm going to go through the procedures real quick to show you how to get it to boot from disk, and then we'll kind of pick back up there. So I need to put my disk in, and then I want to reboot my workstation. I'm looking for a message on the bottom to get into the BIOS. This one will tell me to hit escape. Yours may not have a message. Could be F2, F8, F10. If you did your UEFI step, then you likely know what the key is to get into the BIOS settings. Down in the bottom left, it tells me to hit escape for startup. Then it asks me to hit F10 for the BIOS setup. Enter my password. Now I'm going to go to my advanced tab on this. Yours will look or may look different. Boot options. So all in all, we're trying to get to boot options. That's what we want, is to tell it what to look for first. I scroll down here to my UEFI boot order. So mine is set to boot from USB hard drive. Okay. Then it's going to look for different options all the way down. All right. But it should be looking for my USB hard drive or USB disk. I usually move everything that's USB to the top just to make sure, because I don't know what exactly it's going to classify it as. So I'm going to go over here, and I'm also going to move generic USB drive to the top as well. Okay, so I have my two USBs at the top. After that, it'll go to the standard hard drive built into the system. Okay. So once I've done that, I'll hit enter to accept. I'll hit save. Yes. Now I'm going to hit exit. It's going to ask me to save again. I'm always say yes, kind of redundant. All right, so now I'm just going to let this continue to boot. I should have a flashing light on my Blu-ray drive that tells me that it's reading the disk, it's initializing. So it is checking for bootable media right now. And I should get a message on the screen right here that says press any key to boot. You only have a small window to press any key. If you miss this, it will go to the hard drive, it will boot back into the other version of AFAS, and you can simply hit restart, wait on the message again, and then press a key, and it should boot you in. So we are now into the loading files. This is going to process, and then once this bar fills up, it'll give us an option to choose. So we'll get back once this finishes loading. It has finished loading. We're at the screen here, first screen that we have the option to do anything. We only have one option, deploy the AFAS IDS5 image. All right, so we're just going to click that. That allows us then to click next, and that's what we'll do. It's then going to start loading files. It's going to show a partition here shortly, a UEFI partition. If you did not successfully complete step 1 and partition it, or correction, set it up for UEFI boot, you'll get an error here, and you'll have to go back, set up your UEFI boot, and then come back in and do this step. All right, this is going to load up. It's going to go through several different actions on the top, and then the bottom load bar to kind of tells you the progress with each action. Right now we just hit inject drivers. You're going to see it start loading a bunch of drivers. This is the most common place that I see this install fail, is right here on inject drivers. It will sit on one for an hour. That's usually indicates that the disk is bad. It had something wrong with that driver or that location on the disk. So if you see that it sits for an hour with the same copying driver and it shows the exact same driver, then you're going to want to try that other disk that came in the mail for you. But don't be surprised, it could take 15-20 minutes on the drivers, just depends on your workstation. And then you can kind of proceed on from there. It will get to a point here in a second where it'll say installing operating system, and it'll start with a percent, 1 up through 100. Whenever it gets to that point, I have not seen it fail. So if you wait, I usually watch until it gets to 1%. And then at that point, I'll walk away from this AFAS and do whatever else I need to do, because it has about 20 more minutes of loading before it's ready for the next step. But I usually watch it through the inject drivers, make sure it gets to the percentages, and then I can walk away. So we'll keep the video on until it gets to the 1%, and then I'll stop the video until we get through 100 and show you kind of what the wrap up looks like. All right, here's our 1%. So I'm gonna go ahead and stop the video. We'll pick back up when we get back in the 90s. And then I can show you what it looks like as it finishes installing the operating system. All right, so it finished loading through 100%. Then it moves right into the screen you can see here. It's finishing the install of the operating system. This should go fairly quickly. And then it'll start into kind of a reboot cycle while it applies the changes, updates the system, applies the new operating system. It may reboot anywhere from 3 to 5 times. So just let it continue its reboot cycle until you get to a screen that shows a clock in the bottom left corner. What we'll do is I'll just break away while it does all the reset and reboots, and then I'll come back up whenever it's on that screen. So pretty much you just wait until you see the screen whenever we come back up. Okay, now the system has done its reboot, done its install. The operating system is installed, ready to use. So at this point, we have imaged our AFAS workstation to the new Windows 10.1909. So we can move on from step 2 to step 3.